When we look around the world today, there are many, many, many serious challenges to everything we stand for and believe in. So I believe America's and the world's best days are ahead of us, whether it's climate change or Darfur or Afghanistan or this new threat of radical Islamic extremism that we face throughout the world. And America's first choice will always be to have an alliance in existing institutions and with like-minded nations and individuals who share our firm belief in my subjective view, the most sacred of all words: all men and women are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. My dear friends, our best days are ahead of us.
When I think of the messages of the World Economic Forum, it's an enormously optimistic view, and one which I share. And I was thinking as that I travel, what is the sound that I hear every day wherever I go? And the answer is it's the sound of a cell phone ringing. I hear it on the street, I hear it in the hallway, I hear it in the businesses, I hear it in people's homes. And then in the meetings during our sets of sessions and the governors' meetings and so forth, we talked about, for example, that another 1 billion people will get mobile phone access of some kind in the next couple of years. And a simple example is they get this phone. They're relatively poor. They use it for data. They get to the internet. They learn some new things. They learn how to build businesses. They learn that they're not being well treated by their governments, or that they're not being properly taken care of in their health, or they're worried about their kids, or they find their friends. And as a result, they build businesses, and they demand more from their governments, and they create new entrepreneurial forces. We're excited about entrepreneurialism in the United States. It's a huge explosion of entrepreneurship here in Europe. But an even better story is the entrepreneurship that we'll be seeing in the developing world as a result of this.
The need for education of this growing sort of band of young people coming up through the Middle East, Asia in particular. We had one session on demographics in India, and you think about 200 million people that are going to be joining the workforce in India in the next few years. Now, if those 200 million children are well educated, they're an incredible asset. If they're not, then there's obviously going to be issues.
We have had very deep engagement on two very major issues: climate change, Doha, but also on many others. And we've seen results of those. But it's not just the results that take place here within the 4 days. The sense that I have, and that's why I feel the engagement, is that it is going to flow out of here and the initiatives will continue. And we'll be able to be back here in 2008 to say that something really did happen, something did change, because the engagement is across all of the sectors of society, and it is that integration, that holistic view, that working together that I see taking place and is so encouraging about this year.
Globalization has to talk about a large humanity that sits out there. India itself carries a very large load which it is managing of over 300 million people. Globalization not only of gain, globalization truly of pain as well. And I was delighted to hear Prime Minister Tony Blair talk eloquently and very passionately about the difficulties in Africa, the difficulty of poor people in India. And I think it's very important that the world leaders now transcend boundaries. It is not about British countries, it's not about Europe, it's not about America. If we are going to talk about globalization, we will need to talk about 6.5 billion people. And the world leaders will have to engage themselves in looking at the issues of poverty, issues about health, issues about disease. And I have no doubt that this forum, World Economic Forum, has served very well. And I personally believe that the echo, the message that goes out of here is going to put a smile on the billion people back home in India. And I hope as we go along, that continues to happen. Thank you.
When you look at taking climate change from a huge issue that we take from debate to put into action, you look at emerging markets and the interconnectivity of technology that we have to bring back home and ensure that we listen to our constituents, whether they're in some of the emerging and developing markets or in the more developed markets. And then when you get to globalization, the real dilemma that we face, where both people tend to feel they're losing, whether you're in a developing country or in a developed country. And the need for us as business leaders and this interconnectivity that the Prime Minister talked about of governments, business leaders, and international institutions to work together. So I'd ask all of you when you return home to remember your role in here is to lead and to provide counseled leadership.